Hey everyone, it's Michelle. This is the second episode of Coffee Talk with Elevated HR. Thanks for coming back and tuning in. And if this is your first time, welcome. So given the current economic conditions in Alberta, I've been asked a lot about what it is people can do in order to avoid the inevitable chopping block, if that's the case, and or stand out when they're applying for new jobs. So I'll really break that into two different answers. First and foremost, what it is you can do to avoid the chopping block. In some cases, it's actually nothing. Feel okay with that and be okay with that. If it's down to budgets and financial situations that organizations are in, you just might be the low man on the totem pole. But here's the thing. Don't put your head in the sand either. That is my biggest pet peeve, is when people avoid what could potentially be the inevitable. So there's two things you can do, both inside the organization and outside the organization. If you're starting to feel like it's time for someone to go, or it might be time for you to go, dust off your resume. Don't wait for someone to package you out. You have no idea what your package might end up being, and given again the financial constraints that an organization is in, it might be hardly anything. So if you really feel like this is coming, look for another job. Don't wait. And two, internally, don't be afraid of having that conversation either. Sometimes they don't want to talk about it with you because they think it might upset you, but you can be the first person to bring it up. Don't ever avoid it for whatever reason. That's the last thing that you want to do. The worst thing that they're going to say is, we can't say anything about it. The best thing that they can say is, you know what, that's a good question. Why don't we come up with some ideas about what it is that you can do? If revenues are down, where can you contribute with revenues? If you need to be able to take on more, take on more. If you're willing to go down to 4 days versus the 5 days that you're at, let your employer know that. They might actually be incredibly thankful for doing it. We've even had the same issues here at Elevated, where we've had to go through some layoffs, and even the girls came to me and said too, you know what, if it really comes down to it, we're willing to go down to 4 or 3 days a week if needed. That was the best conversation that we could have had about what was going on. So don't be afraid to just ask. Now, on the flip side, if you've already been let go, or if you just want to get noticed, and because the candidate pools are getting as big as they are, you've got to make sure that your resume is relevant. You've got to now really make sure that you're showing that you want the job. Remember, your resume is a marketing brochure for you. It's not just a black and white piece of paper that you put a bunch of words on it. You've got to make it sell you. And if you forget, and we see this all the time, people forget that that's what a resume is for. Add a little bit of color. Make sure your grammar and formatting is spot on. And then most importantly, make sure that whatever you're applying for is relevant. Change your resume every single time you're applying for a new job. We see that so often that people just use the same generic resume over and over again. And guess what? In a time when the pool is as big as it is, I don't want a generic candidate. I want a candidate that actually wants to work for us. So there's my rant for today. Join us for episode number 3, and we'll see you next time.